What other principles would you say the West was built upon? Like one of the ones I think about a lot, because I remember hearing Oz talk about this elsewhere, is the difference between the French Revolution and the American Revolution, where you had this idea that our founders understood that human beings were inherently sinful. However they might work that out theologically, they knew that it was humans that corrupt institutions, not the institutions just by themselves that corrupt people. It's from the inside out, not outside in. And that's why when they formulated our Constitution and our laws, they were allowing for the fact that power corrupts. That's why there's checks and balances. There's votes. There's all sorts of different ways to keep one person from having too much power, because they knew that would corrupt. And then you see the opposite of that play out in the French Revolution, which really led to bloodshed. And so maybe you can comment on that principle, because it seems to me like that's one of the principles that the West was built upon.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. There's no question about it. The idea of checks and balances, and that you don't have just any single person that can just, off the top of his head, write laws, for example, that laws pre-exist. That all that is a reflection of what you believe to be true about the human person. I think maybe the most distinct expression of an ideal that shaped certainly the United States, but you can kind of see where the French Revolution went off the rails and why America ascended in the way that it did. And it's based in this understanding of human fallenness, but also human dignity together, is the idea of ordered liberty, right? If both the American Revolution and the French Revolution was a cry for freedom, but freedom without virtue, freedom without order, freedom without constraint is dangerous. It actually can enslave people to their own passions, to their own desires, make people susceptible in various ways to tyranny. And that's, of course, what you saw in the French Revolution. You have to have an ordered understanding of liberty. Oz calls it the difference between freedom from and freedom for. If you're trying to pursue freedom from any rules, any regulations, any constraints, then you can literally define freedom as doing whatever you want. But whenever you do what you want, then you become enslaved by the thing that you want more than anything else. So the idea of true freedom is freedom for. What are we created for? Now, let's look then at the last 25, 30 years. And thankfully, there's a vibe shift. But there was this growing movement in America and in the West more broadly for freedom from, first of all, moral restraint when it comes to sexuality, but even the constraints of biology when it comes to sexuality, right? And that's a freedom from, and we saw what that did. It, created an awful lot of victims, particularly of teenage and pre-teenage girls. There's a wonderful story in the film, by the way, of Chloe Cole and how she came to realize this. And it's just really one of the most beautiful stories of redemption. It gives you courage and confidence that God is still at work. But that's one of the ideals connected to believing that humans are fallen, is that our freedom needs to be ordered by our design as created, and also by these moral principles that exist outside of ourselves.
Yeah.